What is up, guys, and welcome back to another one of my AFK Journey videos today. And today we're going to be talking all about team compositions. Now, if you guys want to start playing this game, it is available in the beta. Just check out the description box down below. There's a link for the download. And all the progress you make on this game will actually be transferred to a test server when the game officially releases in a couple of months or so. But yeah, team composition, very important. Like every other MMO game out there, there's going to be different like roles or jobs that people have. For example, if you look at Granny Donnie, I believe that's how you pronounce it, you can see she is a tank. And tanks are very important because they will be naturally bulky. Their skills will actually have some healing for her personally, and also sometimes some protection for her team, like a taunt here. And you can see that she is a very good frontline hero, which makes it so that you definitely want to make sure that you have at least one tank. Now, ideally you want multiple units in the front and then also a combination of supports and damage dealers, but we'll talk about how you guys want to actually tackle that. So the first thing to keep in mind is, yes, there are different roles in this game. So if you go to equipment here, you can see all 6 roles. There's going to be the warrior, the tank class, the marksman class, the mage, the support, and the rogue. So I definitely recommend having at least one tank with maybe a warrior or another tank on top of that. So you want 2 heroes in the front to soak damage. And then you definitely want at least one support hero, such as Rowan. So Rowan is a support hero. If you look here, his skills are very good because it gives people energy, which is used for ultimate abilities, and also has some healing while doing some decent damage as well. Very good in long fights. Definitely a support that you want to have. Now, after your 2 frontliners and a support hero, you definitely want a main damage dealer and kind of like a sub damage dealer that can also support. So Laika is an elite class hero, and she is the perfect unit for this job. Very easily gettable because she isn't as rare as epic units are, but because she's super strong, she is a must-have in your account. So she has an attack speed buff for your team, which is very good. She'll give people energy and haste. She also has a physical defense reduction ability, which is very important. It'll make her team actually do more damage if you have physical damage dealers, because she will reduce physical damage, which makes her very, very good. And she just does a lot of AoE damage in general, which makes her a very good sub DPS. For your main DPS, there's a lot of options here. I'm currently using Eddie. Eddie is also an elite class hero, very powerful because he has poisons and he just does a ton of damage. He's been nerfed quite a bit since his release, but he's still one of the best, if not the best, boss killers in the game. So yeah, very, very brief introduction in how you want to build your team comp. Now let's actually show you guys, for example, if I fight something, how you guys actually want to be tackling your team composition. So let's remove everything right now. So you have 5 slots in the battle. Definitely want to make sure you have a tank or frontline. And like I said, you want a healer and you want a sub DPS and a main DPS. Very good to have all of those roles filled out. But also when constructing your team composition, if you look at the top left here, this like green leaf thing, you want to click it, you'll see that there are faction bonuses. Now, faction bonuses are basically if you have heroes from the same faction in your team, you'll get attack and HP boost. You'll also see that the newly released factions, Celestials and Hypogeans, I think that's how it's pronounced, are going to be considered as heroes from any faction when counting the faction buffs. And also for each of those heroes on your team, you'll get extra health and attack. So these are the new faction classes which we'll talk about. But basically you can slot them in for any single faction and it'll be like a wild card. So you're going to see that when there are 3 plus 2, which is going to be like a mixed match, like 3 from, for example, from Lightbearer and then 2 from like Wilder, then it'll count as 3 plus 2, or 4 heroes or 5 heroes from the same faction, you'll get bonuses here, and you can see that they're listed. And these bonuses are pretty huge, right? At 5 heroes, you're getting 22% attack and HP. So while you're filling out your roles and classes, you definitely want to make sure you are following these faction bonuses and try to get as many buffs as possible. You're also going to see that there are going to be weaknesses. So the mobs here, sometimes when you're fighting in arena and PvP, you're going to see that some factions will be stronger against others and some will be weaker. Definitely want to keep that in mind as well. But in general, for PvE, you can kind of ignore this. It's best to just have one faction strong team. And for example, for me, I like to run like a Lightbearer team. So what I like to do is I like to run this guy, I believe his name is Valen. Yeah, you can see he's a Lightbearer warrior, very good damage dealer / tank. He's a good frontline hero because he's a warrior. With another tanky frontline hero here, we have a tank here, Lucius, a Lightbearer tank. And then also for the support role, I like to run Rowan. Like you guys saw, he's a Lightbearer support, very powerful. If we actually look now, the faction bonus is activated because I have 3 from Lightbearer. Now, if I want to actually run more tanks, I can run like Granny, right? And then because Granny is from the green faction here, as you guys can see, if I actually just swap in Laika here, you're actually going to see that because she is also a wilder with Granny, you can see I get that 3+2 bonus. So I have 3 from Lightbearer and 2 from Wilder. Now, honestly, trying to get that 22% will be very, very beneficial, especially early into the game. So most likely I'd run team comp with Vala, very good assassin unit, very powerful, it's a ton of damage, and is a great single target nuker with a support DPS such as this hero that I just recently pulled, Ella. She's a mage, does AoE damage, and she can also buff her team with her skill, which will make an ally do more damage. So you can see I have this 5 Lightbearer team, and my combat strength at the top left here is 68,000. So for example, you can see with this faction bonus, I'm getting a ton of extra strength. So if I just, took out these units and put units from random factions here, you're actually going to see that the bonus, that my combat strength is a lot lower. So I'm at 60,000. So I went down 8,000 points, right? Which is actually crazy considering all the units I just swapped in are on the same level. But if I actually do the comp that I was talking about earlier, where I have Rowan here, I have this new mage support unit and Vala, you'll see I'm at 68,000 because of the faction bonus, which makes your team immensely stronger. You definitely want to make sure you're following this. So while you're filling out your front line here with, 2 tanky units, and then while you have a support unit and also, 2 DPS units, then you're going to actually be able to also try to get your factions filled out and try to get extra bonuses on top of that with your team composition to make your team super strong. As you guys can see, I'm making light work of this mob that is around my level, so pretty easy to actually see why taking advantage of your team comp and your factions are very, very important. Just the importance of how vital it is to have a tank on your team or multiple. Let's actually look at stats. So you can see my Granny and my Laika are the same level here. Granny is obviously the tank like I showed you earlier. You can see her health is 76,000, and also defenses are almost 2,400 each. Now if we look at a squishy damage dealing unit like Laika, like I mentioned, she's not even 60k HP, and she has almost half of the defenses for magic and physical than Granny. So you can see Granny will be able to take a ton more hits, and she also has skills that will complement her tankiness with her healing, which makes her extremely, extremely powerful as a tank. And by just having her alive, it will make it so my other damage dealers can do a ton of damage. So it is very, very important to actually make sure that you have this team composition thing figured out. Now, of course, you can swap some units out. Some people like to run 2 supports. Some people like to run only 1 frontline. It's really up to you and the content you're tackling and the heroes that you have. But in general, I found the most success running 2 frontline heroes, 1 support, and then 2 DPS or damage dealers in the back. It will make for a very smooth battle gameplay. Also, as you guys saw in the last battle, I had my tanks in the front. It's very important to have your tanks in the front, or else your damage dealers will get killed, and then you will most likely take a lot longer to do the fights, or sometimes even fail. So for example, if I put all my tanks in the back here and I show you what happens if my DPS get focused down, you're gonna see that it actually will take a pretty long time to clear this fight. I think I'll still win because I'm still very strong, but if my damage dealers die, then what actually ends up happening is you actually won't be able to deal as much damage as quickly, obviously. So it's very important to make sure you have your tanks in the front. Also, it is very important to make sure you have your tanks in the front here. So as you guys can see from the last battle, I did have my tanks in the front, but if you have your damage dealers in the front instead, they will end up dying. And as you guys saw, tanks will just live a lot longer, and they're mainly here to protect your team. Some of them will die off in some fights because they're just there to soak damage, but by making sure you have your tanks in the front line, it'll just make your fights a lot more smoother, and it'll make it so that your damage dealers and your support ranged units are just protected. You can see here, my units are not getting touched, or if they are, barely, and they're not even close to dying, and they're just dealing out a ton of damage, which is very, very important because you want to make sure, you're just doing as much damage as possible while staying alive. And by utilizing your classes and formations, you should have an easy time clearing pretty much any battle as long as it's not too high of a difficulty for your current gear and levels. If you guys get lucky enough to actually get enough guild points to actually buy from the guild store one of the new heroes, these heroes are going to be Celestial or Hypogean. I believe this one is the Hypogean, I don't know how to pronounce it, and this one is the Celestial one. And basically these heroes will count in any faction. So these heroes, very, very powerful. They're new to the game from this update, and it makes it so that you can slot them into any single team comp with any single faction that you're focusing on, and you'll be able to get the benefits. So they're very powerful. You definitely want to aim to get these from the guild store as soon as you can to use in your teams. Okay, there's a ton of different team comps you can actually use in AFK Journey, which is one of the biggest reasons why I love this game. And because your heroes will all level up automatically with your resonance level, which is the lowest level hero that you have on your team, it makes it so that you can always slot them in, and they always will be all sharing the same equipment, so you don't actually individually have to gear units, which is very, very great. and it makes it so that you can always change your team comp, right? Like for me, for example, I change it a lot. Recently, I've been actually running a 3+2 where I'm actually running Wilder with the light bearers, and it comes out to be a very, very good team because, you know, I get to use a very good support unit in Rowan, I get to use a very good tank in Lucius here, and then I also get to use a very good tanky / off meta damage dealer in Valen here. So this is the team comp I usually run. As you guys can see, it's a 3+2, very powerful. Definitely recommend using team comps to your advantage with the faction bonuses to progress in the game. But yeah, that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in this video. Just a heads up, if you guys want to download this game, it is in the description box down below. I've been having a lot of fun even though the game is still in beta, and I definitely plan to make more content in the future. If you guys do enjoy this video and want to see more AFK Journey content, make sure you guys leave a like and comment down below, and I'll see you guys next video.